Aloha, everyone. My name is Lawrence Tanimoto, and this is a video recast of a presentation that I gave at NCCE 2026 on February 26, 2026. If you're coming to this from YouTube and not from the CSTAWA.org website, if you want to get the presentation slide deck with all the links, you can go to this URL here called tinyurl.com, csta-grow.csed, or look at this QR code there. Again, this is a video recast of how to grow CS education at your district or school for Washington. Okay. So anyway, go here if you want to get the presentation slide deck. Okay, now let's go to the presentation. And it says how to grow CS education at your district school or at your district or school. And my name is Lawrence Tanimoto, and I'm the treasurer of CSTA Washington. And this is more about me. I am currently retired, and actually I'd like to say I'm actually retired, so I don't plan on going back to school, back into the workforce anytime soon. I am retired. However, I'm retired. I was a teacher, a CTE teacher at Ingram High School in North Seattle from 2014 to 2021, where I taught a wide variety of computer science courses. And before that, I spent 28 years in the international computer industry. The last 18, I was with Microsoft in the Microsoft Office Product Development Group. Now, this is more about CSTA Washington, and we are the Computer Science Teachers Association. And actually, we're somewhat of a new organization, and because in November of 2024, about a year and a half ago, we were the merger of 4 CSTA chapters in Washington. These were the Puget Sound chapter, Central Washington, Mid-Columbia, and Spokane. So where there once were 4 CSTA chapters in Washington, now there's only one, CSTA Washington. And our mission, and this is sort of a mission that we just established at the beginning of 2026 this year, is to provide community professional development and advocacy for Washington educators to help them deliver equitable, engaging, high-quality CS education for all K-12 students that ensures responsible technology creation and use so that everyone can thrive in a world powered by computing. So remember that the title of this particular presentation is how to grow CS education at your district or school. And the best way you can do that is, if you haven't already, is to join CSTA Washington. And you can see here all the things that we do here. We provide live in-person events, virtual events, and virtual community. We provide professional development. We have a website, cstawa.org, that we will see elements of in this presentation. We provide a monthly newsletter. We do provide Washington State clock hours for several of the events that we provide. And we provide maybe not moral, but more morale and professional support. I'm sorry for the typo there, but morale and professional support. And if you want to join CSTA Washington, you can look at this QR code here, or look at this tiny URL, join CSTA WA 26. And you can see instructions for how to join CSTA Washington. And I'll say that discounts are available. And if you go there right now, which is in early March, while the normal membership is $50 a year, you can do it for $10 a year. So go now. So that's the best way. That's the first way to grow CS education at your district or school. Now, to figure out how to grow CSEd at your district or school, you really have to understand where we are in the state of CS education in Washington, because you can't grow in a vacuum, and you kind of have to see what other schools are doing and how the state is doing as a whole to figure out how much you need to grow, or so on and so forth. So this sort of gives you context of where your district is at. And we say 2323. And I'll say this, the primary data source for what we're going to be showing you, and we're going to be showing you several data dashboards and reports that show you the state of where your district is or your school is compared to the rest of the state. And the source of this data is what is known as the 2023-24 K-12 Computer Science Education Data Summary Report that's provided by OSPI Computer Science. And this particular version was published in June of 2025. So even though it's about a year behind. So in June of 2025, they published data for up to the 2023-2024 school year. Yep. And that's what now, to see what this looks like, you can see here. Oh, actually, maybe I won't do that quite yet. But so this is what the OSPI data summary report lives at. I will say that I've seen several other data dashboards and reports for other states, and Washington probably has the most comprehensive source of K-12 CS data for any state. And I would say that this was also the result of legislation. There was specific legislation, HB 1577 in 2019, that actually mandated that OSPA generate these reports. I would say that the report that was in June of 2025, it actually covered 5 years of data from school year 2019 to 2020 to school year 23-24. So 5 years of data that it covers. And it also included all schools with at least one grade from 6 to 12. So that's all the good things about it. However, it is mostly a series of Excel data tables, and there's only one chart. And here, I'll show you what this looks like here. So this is, if you go to the Education Data Summary Report, looks like this. Has information about courses, some of the things available here. You can just see it's just several different data tables. And some of them are actually quite long. So you go student schools, you can see here, you go all the way down, Yeah, it's anyway. So there's quite a lot of data. So because we felt this was a little bit hard for the average person to use, we decided, CSEA Washington decided to embark on this analytics project. And the overall project description is here, linked here, which takes us to the main page called Washington CS and CTE Analytics 2025. And this contains links to everything else and sort of describes what we're doing and all the other information that we're providing as part of this project. And now, just to talk a little bit about the goals of this project was first to enable readers to visualize all the data that's available in the OSPI report, right? To make it easier for ESDs, school districts, and individual schools and teachers to utilize this data to improve computer science education in their areas of responsibility. and to offer some simple analysis and key takeaways from that data. Another thing that we've done, and I'll talk about this a little bit, is that we've also provided some similar capabilities on all CTE courses and all CTE or career and technical education courses, as a substantial majority of CS courses, something like 85 to 90% in Washington, are taught as CTE. And we'll touch on that a little bit later in this presentation. Okay? So that's the why we're doing this. So first, let's talk about where we are with CS education in Washington. You can see here, the orange bar shows the percentage of students who have a computer science course offered in their school. And the blue bar shows the percentage of schools that offer a computer science course. And you can see here that going from 2022 to 2023, the percentage of schools that are offering CS, that means they have at least one student enrolled in a CS course in their school, continued a slight upward movement from 44.6 to 45.5. Okay. However, going from 2023 to 2024, the percentage of students in these schools had a slight downward trend from 74.9% to 74.3%. And that what that pretty much means is that the mix of schools changed slightly. So while there were more schools that were actually offering CS in 2023, 2024, the size of those schools went down slightly. The average size of those schools went down slightly. That's okay. So that's your trend status, where you really start to see a little bit of an issue going on here, is that there was a downtrend in the enrollment of students. Okay? The percentage of students enrolled in CS dropped from 9.3% to 8.6%. And the percentage, and this is this green bar here, 9.3% to 8.6%. And the percentage of students enrolled in CS in schools that were offering CS dropped from 12.5% to 11.6%. And what that means is that in schools that had a CS course in 2023, 12.5% of their students attended the CS course, but in 23, 24, only 11.6%. And this is, a somewhat serious drop. So it is something that look at, and you can sort of tell that, 23, 24 was sort of the start of the whole generative AI, I guess, phenomena. And really, as when we start to look at data for 24, 25, I suspect we'll see even bigger drops. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, how generative AI will affect CS student enrollment there. Okay. Another thing you can see here is that this shows CS participation by grade level. And you can see here, as mentioned here, CS student percentage is the highest in 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, and then goes down as you get older and older, right? And it's the lowest as a senior, right? And the drop in CS student percentage in last year, in 23-24, was most from drops in the middle school level. So that's the background of what we're looking at. Okay. You can also see this when we start looking at high school versus middle school. Here, you can see here that while there was only a slight drop in the percentage of high school students taking CS, there was a much more serious drop almost 10% of the percentage of middle schools students taking CS. Also, you can see the drop in the number of schools there. So there are some very different things going on in our CS education system. Now, as we go through all of these metrics, it's important to show just where we are nationally, where we are, and how we compare to, or how we are as a state, and how we compare nationally. You can see here the national percentages here, and the Washington percentage. Now, it's a little difficult to make apples to apples comparisons because the national data is primarily based on just high schools, and they have a much narrower definition of what a CS course is. However, we can make some generalizations from this. Is the main thing is that for what do you want to say is that for Washington, where let's see what Washington, we do fairly well. We're somewhat average in terms of CS student participation, and we're do well in most, I guess, what you would call equity metrics or demographics metrics. However, the one area where we're weak is in gender relative participation, which is the percentage of girl students taking CS divided by the percentage of boy students taking CS. You can see here, nationwide, it's 50.6%, and in Washington, it's 49.2%. In other sorts of demographic measurements, Washington actually does really very well. So that's an area of concern. Okay. That's the national concern. Now let's look at a little more at the reports and dashboards that we provide here. And this is all available from this main page here that I showed you earlier. So this is updated. The first one are some of the dashboards that we've had around for a while. For actually, this is the third year doing them, and that we just updated for this year. So that's this set here, and this is the basic Washington CSEd enrollments 2019. Yeah, this particular dashboard here, and you can see what we have here. This contains some of the general statewide data that you can break down by high school, middle schools, and others, right? You can see by school here. Oh, so what did that? And you can go through and you can see the CS percentage, the CS enrollment percentage for each school and how they do in alphabetical order. Nice graph. You can look at it by district similarly. You can look at it by ESD, and you can select, look at different school types there, right? So this is our basic. This is what we've had for a while, and you can drill down here get all schools that we have listed there. And the other dashboard is just statewide demographic information. You can see here about total students, CS student percentage, and how that's changed over year. Gender differences in gender. Oops, sorry. right? The gender percentages, race, ethnicity, income, yep, grade level that we've seen before, ELL, etc. Right? Yep. So now that was what we had before. What an additional thing that we did this year was more of a drill down. For example, we only had demographic data on a statewide basis. Now we created a drill down where you could see CSEd participation rates by overall CS enrollment, gender, race, ethnicity, income, ELL, disability, and grade level. And you could drill down by ESD, state, and schools. So let's look at this. So here's just overall enrollment. Yeah, oops. And you can see here, so this is available the state. This is the state information, and this is the ESD information. Okay, we're gonna look at Yakima here. Okay, and this is the information for Yakima for both CS being available and CS enrollment. And we can even go down even further, and we're gonna pick. I've decided to pick on the Yakima School District from this presentation because it's toward the end. Okay, and you can see how what their thing is there, right? So you can see Yakima would go down there. Now we can also do that. Well, now we can also do that for gender as well. For gender, yeah, this shows the gender distribution and the percentage of male students and female students who are taking CS, right? We can drill down to Yakima, right? And you see in Yakima, it's the gender relative percentage is 56.9%, which is higher than the statewide average, right? Of under 50%, right? And we can go down there, Yakima, and then we can go down to the Yakima School District here, and you can see here, and their gender relative percentage is 52.9%, which is still a little bit better than the state average of less than 50%. And we can even go further down into the school level as well. And you can see schools that there, and you can jump back up. And you can see the whole Washington situation is there. Okay. So and now this is available. This sort of thing, that was a gender breakdown, but you can also look at it race, ethnicity, income levels, ELL, and students with disabilities, and even grade level extent. Yep. Okay. Now, the one thing though is that even though this is great for drilling down into particular information, it's pretty difficult for any one teacher or school district to sort of share the information for their district with others in their district for analysis and so on and so forth. So another thing that we've done is, okay, I'm going to skip here, is to create PDF reports, right? And you can see that here, right? And you can see here, we can go here, that contain all of the information that you just saw in that drill down report for your district. So here we're going to go to Yakima. We're going to click OK. And actually, we're going to reshow it here. but that contains all the data for your district for overall CS participation, gender, race, income levels, ELL, disability, and grade level. Right. So that sort of summarizes, and you can share this with others in your district or school, and you can talk about all of the issues without having to say, go to this point, this point, this point, and share that out. Okay. Some other things that we've done. Actually, I'm going to go ahead backward now. Is we've also created some additional ports, and we'll probably continue to do these things from time to time. Is we've published some ideas of what some of the top schools and districts for CSEd were in 22, 23, 24. Just to see, like, so you can compare your district or school to top schools in the state. I'll say that these links also contain links to the bottom schools and districts as well, but we won't mention them here. And we've also done a similar report for top schools and districts for girls for CSEd in 2020. And you can see here, although some of these were somewhat surprising to me, at least. I had never heard of Waluke School District, which had a very high percentage of their students taking CSEd. And some of the girls' schools for Granite Falls School District, which I believe is east of, where's that? It's very north of Seattle, and Connell High School, which is also somewhat near Yakima. Those were schools I hadn't heard of, but they have very high percentage of girls taking CSEd. I have heard of International School, which is in Bellevue, and Nikola Tesla STEM High School, which is in Redmond, but not some of these other schools were very surprising. Yep. Now, even if you have that information, one of the things you might wonder about is this particular report here is Washington Computer Science courses. And this shows here. And what this will show here is, okay. This will show here is, let's go back to this. Okay. I need to do that. Sorry. Okay. What I should mention here is if you go to a report like this, one thing you will notice, this is, for example, the gender report. You will notice, for example, the gender relative percentage in your high schools here are somewhat low, under 50%, but the middle schools are somewhat high, right? And what, then this is, our middle schools are somewhat 65.2. So one of the things that you can do with that is you may wonder, well, and that's probably because of what types of courses are you teaching in middle school versus your high school? Okay. So that's one thing that you can help to answer using the computer science courses report, which I have to bring up here. Okay, here we go here. Okay, so what you can see here, this sort of shows here what computer science courses are being taught where. And you see the different categories of CS and what makes them up here. And you can do this at the state level, the ESD level, right? What courses are in ESD level. And we also look at both sections and the number of enrollments per 1,000 students, because if you look at this, Puget Sound will always have, for example, far more sections and far more students taking CS. But if you look at it on a per student basis, it evens out quite a bit. You can compare different districts within an ESD here, right? And you can compare different schools within a district, right? So here, now let's go back down to here and let's look again at our favorite Yakima school district here. And you can see here what types of schools are being, so you can tell here that the Yakima School District, your middle schools there, they're teaching a lot of robotics, right? And they're getting a fairly good mix of girl and boy students in there. And that's in middle school. When you get to your high schools, you have more core CS courses, including things like APCS, and cybersecurity, and so on and so forth. And perhaps these courses are not quite as popular with girl students. That's one thing, but that might give you some idea of what's going on there. The other cool thing about this particular report is you can also see how different categories and courses are growing throughout the state. Here you can see here growth by course category and growth by course code. So you can see what courses are growing and how many there are of them. And you can also look up to see who's teaching what courses. So for example, if I wanted to see who's teaching something like, what might be interesting here. Interactive media, you want to do, if you can see all the different schools and how many units and how many sections they have. You can also go here and how many people are doing C++ programming. Oh, not as many as you would think. And Riverview is doing quite a few of them. Another one might be IB Computer Science. And you can see that's how many. So that's a variety of uses. Now, we've also done a report on this here. And you can see here that the top 3 course categories were Core CS, which is basic programming and things like APCS and so forth, robotics, and media programming. However, those were the top 3, but their annual growth rates were somewhat different. Core CS grew at rate of 6.6% annually. Robotics was pretty slow, and media programming grew a lot in the last 5 years. Robotics was much more prevalent in high school, 36.6% than in high school. I would say that cybersecurity has established a foothold in the state with an annual growth rate of 36%, while data science, which is actually sort of foundational to developing artificial intelligence programs, has not. And I was just saying that after robotics and computer programming, AP Computer Science A has the third largest number of sections in the state, which is somewhat interesting considering how difficult AP Computer Science A is. And some of this tactical support about, looking and seeing how you compare with other districts in your course selection, the growth rate of course categories and courses, and finding other schools teaching a particular course. These are all tactical supports that's provided by that dashboard. One other set of dashboards that we do provide, and this is our more legacy, is just things about teachers, how many teachers there are, where they are, and then also about their demographics. We have that information, and we have quite a bit of information on CTE, which I won't go into that we've done that, and we'll be doing more information on these dashboards at a later date. But and how to use them at a later date. But we do have these as well. Now, so all of these dashboards here, they're all feature complete and accurate to the best of our ability, but we've labeled them all as demo. And we really want your feedback on these. So if you have any, and you can send these all to washington@csteachers.org. If you have any questions, comments, and bug reports, send them. Information, ideas about course categorization. Some of the course categories we sort of made, created these on our own from various sources, but we may want to relook at those. Various ranking lists, for example, we had the top CS schools and the top CS2s for girls. There are other things we could do with it. If you have ideas for additional features, if you have areas for deeper or separate analysis, I think I'd like to do more work on high school versus middle school CS. On things maybe looking more at income levels and that sort of thing. Or other subject areas that you think deserve similar treatment, then please let us know. We want to make this data source as useful for you and provide as many insights as possible. And although I don't expect many of you to do so, if you can donate to our chapter to support this work, we'd be very appreciated. This is a little bit of our bake sale, since we can't really, well, I at least can't really bake anything that's very good. I can do this. So if you can help out, please help out there. The next part of it is more about what is more, let's see, things that had to do with the particular present NCCE itself. So I won't skip all of those, and I will thank you very much for listening to this presentation. And yes, and one more thing, you may want to just visit our website. Oh, is that it? Oh, well, that's how to join CSTA Washington, which again, I do recommend that you do, and that's the best way to grow CS education or to improve CS education in your district or state or district or school. And this is our website here. Right. And to check it out and see if there's something that might interest you. So I do want to thank you again. And please, if you have any questions, please let us know at washington@csteachers.org. Thank you very much.